Cinema remains an established leading forum of visual culture. It stands as an institution of scientific, economic, entertainment and education on a global scale. And it is continuously advancing and ascending new levels of technology and emotion. We can see how cinema itself can be transgressive as it uses tech, images and sound to tell a story of which can spread an endless amount of messages and in the most globally efficient way possible. There are so many genres within film, and they all uniquely portray a viewpoint, to which the director carefully allocates actors, screening and lighting to ensure that the audience are in full comprehension of the essence of the film. Transgressive films are often genre-driven, and this is evident within genres like horror, erotica and even comedy. What makes them transgressive is the essence of shock factor, and scenes which, no matter how disturbing or shocking or just inappropriate, the audience is still fixated and peep through the gaps in their fingers. The Oxford Dictionary describes transgression as an act that goes against a law, rule or code of conduct, so something offensive in one way or another. However, in a society which has consistently been constrained by norms, values and a common understanding of morality, no wonder we cross these boundaries, because there's only so much we can conform as rational functioning members of society. Human beings have a cultural fascination with transgression, and as Mike Presley explores in his study of the carnival of crime, society enjoys the consumption of transgressive acts as entertainment, whether it be sex or violence or drugs. We love to watch these things on the big screen. Something to make us question our moralities and get our adrenaline pumping. And with the world ever changing through politics, social and personal life, individuals consistently sought for more sophisticated forms of escapism and through the art of moving images. Films use raw audiovisual power to effectively change perceptions and shape people and societies, all whilst being readily available and pretty much accessible to all. Not to mention the influence of translation technology, like voiceovers and subtitles, which enable audiences from around the world to enjoy these movies in their own mother tongue. And there are all sorts of ways in which cinema and film can impact us. A good film can inspire us to do the right thing, inspire us to make positive changes in our lives, and allow us to think reflectively. There are plenty of beneficial factors of cinema, but it is the globality and impact that these films have which can take a negative turn. The representations of life in cinema are not always positive, and although no movie is made with the intention of harm, the big screen can also have quite detrimental effects, and it is this that makes them transgressive. Many social psychologists hold the opinion that films can desensitize people and make violence and the suffering of others seem almost acceptable and even praised at times. This, of course, can lead to the passive observation of violence in real life and even a tendency to not help stop violence, just for their own personal entertainment. The way in which violence is shot in cinema portrays a sense of impressiveness and attractiveness, and a way to properly resolve disagreements. This sense of coolness of barbarity is exacerbated when the audience are shown that the strongest fighter not only gains social status, but they also get the girl. And action films are shown to be one of the top genres in film, most of them only being aged 15. So the questions of ethics come in. Is it appropriate for children to be watching violence on screen? This is a matter of huge debate, and when exploring Bandura's Bobodil experiment, we can see how observational learning comes into play. There have been multiple moments in history to which these kinds of situations have occurred. People watching violent films and later performing horrific acts, and not just children but adults too. Although it is hard to say whether this is a main contributing factor, where do we draw the line? Looking deeper into the transgressional effect of violence on film, there is also a huge amount of murder and bloodshed which are also broadcasted for the public eye to see. And, as mentioned previously, although these films were made with the intent to tell a story, or just to keep you on the edge of your seat, numerous cases have risen in real-life bloodshed inspired by the likes of cinema. Natural Born Killers is a 1994 film directed by Oliver Stone, and it tells the story of two lovers who bond over their similar childhood trauma and later become psychopathic serial murderers who become glorified by the media for their ruthless killings. And after the release of the film, a series of copycat crimes occurred, with the film mentioned by 6 real-life cases of murder. Did the movie have direct influence? 1 year after the release of the film, Sarah Edmondson and her boyfriend, Benjamin James Darras, simply spent a night alone together watching the film, which later inspired them to pack a car with a revolver and shoot 2 innocent civilians just a couple days later. John Grisham, American novelist, believed that filmmakers should be held accountable for their work when it incites viewers to commit violent acts, and wrote an article called Unnatural Killers on this case in particular. And as the young couple told the court they had watched the film a number of times and spoke openly about the murder, they even kept a piece of blood-stained fabric as a token of memorabilia. So, with cases like this, it is difficult to unpick the real reason behind the case. And the nature versus nurture debate grows heavier and heavier and even more difficult when the matter of cinema arises. Within Grisham's article, he describes how the media has a huge responsibility for what is shown on screen, as evidently, it could have some disastrous effects. Moving on from this, another transgressional topic in cinema is the representation of women on screen. Feminist theory has long noted the contradictory nature of the ideals of women that dominate patriarchy, mainly women as submissive sexual objects. Within cinema, male actors transition between a huge variety of characters, but women majoritively fall within the category of the eye candy through a predominant male gaze. And it is commonly portrayed within film that the aspect of possession of a woman provides the male character satisfaction. In other words, the woman, who herself is incomplete, serves as a vehicle for the man simply by acting as a love object. Along with this, cameras do not fail to pan across a woman's body parts, and it is the directorial efforts like this which entrench this patriarchal fantasy and put female bodies before female minds. And in 2013, women made up less than a third of speaking parts in the top grossing films, and only 15% of the protagonists.
Anya, this is a, person with a great deal of acting talent, and yet you haven't really given her many lines in the movie. And I wondered, I guess that was a deliberate choice on your part, and I just wanted to know why that was, that we don't hear her actually speaking very much. And Margot, I wanted you to also comment about being in the film in this part.
Well, I just reject your hypotheses.
Feminist film theorist Haskell illustrates how women's inferiority is broadcast within film in Western society, which has led to the limited roles available to women throughout the history of cinema. The woman who sacrifices herself for the family, the woman who is hypersexualized, the woman who thrives merely on the attention of men, the woman who is passive and is just simply there. The transgressive nature in these representations of gender on film can reinforce gender roles and display a hierarchical difference between the sexes. Some of cinema's most famous films administer this system of division, where the female damsel's well-being and happiness relies solely on pleasuring the male protagonist. And so, with the exploration of different representations shown in film and the effects which they can have on the public mind, we are shown how cinema is transgressive, and without intentionally causing harm. This art form can spark debates about values within society and express the reproduction of subconscious ideals.